microphone's got stuff on it. That's still been there from last year though. Sorry, I'm OCD about. Yeah, okay, there it is. It's gone. It's gone. It's all gone. It's gone. Okay, where are my PAs? Who needs to be fired for this? Oh,
I have no idea.
Shit. Here's my PA. This is Peter Venkman from the Real Ghostbusters. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. This is what the mainstream, and it's like the first one of the year, right?
I know.
Well, you and like 5 other people that watch it know it's awesome. But anyway, we still have fun. It's all good. It's all good in the hood, and I'm already speaking to you, Ryan, like I introduced you, like a good host would. But instead of going on about my freaking action figures and stuff in my room. So why don't I do that? Okay. So
good.
Look. Just I will do this for you, okay? Because you're a special guest. You are not only a friend of ours.
Yes.
A friend of Oz. You're also a friend of the RWA space. Now, for those who do not know, and you should know, or else you should re-examine your life thoroughly. Today we have Ryan from Noom on the mainstream. So say hi to everybody, Ryan, because I've been, not letting you do that before.
Hey, everybody, how are you doing? No, it's good to be here. And yes, and I'm definitely a friend of you guys. I love what y'all are doing. So, 2 peas in a pod.
Yeah, pod. It's just no, my mind is somewhere else. Yeah, I need some of that. Can you guys, send that coffee over?
I'm trying.
Come on.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. So look. Not only, like, of course, you guys have been in the space for a long time, in the Cardano space, and just the space of the blockchain thingies, and you also are the RWA project, are you not?
We are. We are. It's funny because when we call it real world asset, a lot of people just think physical objects that manifest in some tokenized fashion on chain, right? Well, there's a lot more than just strictly physical. I can touch you, right? There's so many other things that actually are real world assets.
Emotional.
Oh yes, there are emotional assets. There are all the
spiritual,
things.
Existential, okay,
or crises, yeah. But yeah, no, we deal specifically in music rights. We have other products, but one of our big cornerstones is music rights, and we tokenize them and fractionalize them and bring them onto the blockchain. So that's the 10,000-foot view of us and real world assets, and we've been doing it before it was sexy to do it. So
just like us, just before everybody's like, oh hey, RWAs, we're already doing RWAs, and people are saying, why should people care?
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden everybody cares. It's like, oh, we're doing RWAs too, and we're also making hamburgers. It's like, okay, good, cool. So look, this is actually really cool to kind of touch on this, because we have recently released a documentary. It was on Stuff.io with our Book.io friends. And so essentially, some people were like, "Whoa, why just do it like that? Why would why would I want to buy it?" Well, because you own it, right? So why buy these things? You own them, right? Why do you buy a CD? Why do you buy a DVD? That experience is somewhat has been kind of like overshadowed by the whole on-demand media revolution, which is cool. That was actually something else that I was into like way before it was popular. I was doing on-demand, like Winamp, Winamp.
Winamp, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Winamp TV, like back in the day, like back in like 2008, 2007, 2009, when it was still like, you still had these like, pirate channels of The Simpsons that somebody like recorded from TV, and it's got all these weird commercials and shitty quality and everything. But they were playing, and I always knew that was going to be the future. And it was before like Netflix got into it, before all these Hulus of the world were born, and so I do think that is a great thing. But also, I think now more than ever, people are starting to realize that true ownership. What is true ownership? So how do you own these things? And so why go and and get yourself one of these Zen-Gate documentaries? Well, it's a documentary. It's not like advertising material. It's not just some bullshit that we released. It's not. Well, I'm not saying our videos are that, but it's not like one of the videos that we released just about things that we're doing. It's an actual. It was created as a piece of art, okay, and it is. There was artistic input that went into this. We edited this out. We did all these things. Is that a?
Yeah, we call it visual art. That's part of that visual media.
I didn't realize I had a nice big stain on my sweater, but anyway. For all the OCD people, don't look at this. Now
they're gonna all look at it now. What is that?
Yeah. Now, okay, fine. I'm gonna do this. Hold on. There. We fixed it.
I mean, I think you upgraded.
Yeah, I did. But I still have to fix this because this is one of my favorite sweaters. And so, where am I going with this? Well, the art of, or the kind of like the pride of ownership has been kind of smeared by this, but now people are starting to realize that again, it's really not their media. What they're subscribed to is a service. They're not subscribed. They don't really own the movie, and ownership is part of this collection, mentality that humans have. And it will always remain that, you will always want to own this. Why do I own a piece of, why are NFTs collectibles? I mean, its numbers go up, but it's also ownership, right? And so
it's for the community.
Yeah, exactly. All of it is for the community. And so, I really think it's important what you're doing, because basically you're like, and I don't want to, for lack of a better word, you're like the stuff.io of music. You're, in a way, right?
In one aspect. In one aspect. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you kind of give us a breakdown of all the aspects of what you do? Why Noom? Why is what you do different? Why would people care about owning music through Noom? Why would artists want to release music through Noom? So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah. So let me do a quick 1,000-foot view of what all we actually do right now. And this was kind of a little backstory for like a minute, if you'll let me. So I'm a musician by day. That's what I do. And so I have 2 master's degrees, one in music education, one in conducting, not the choo-choo type, but the like flap your hands in the air type. And so I've lived in that world my entire life, but I've also lived in the commercial music side of the equation. So like I performed with Elton John at the Emmys, like Take 6, and some other stuff. And then I do recording sessions here in town in Nashville for various things. We've done a couple Netflix stuff, and then some other things I can't really talk about. But so I get to live in the classical world, and then I get to live in the session world, and then also the whole side of the music biz side, as far as when you're doing stuff like this, what does that look like contractually, all the fun stuff. Anyways, during pandemic, I wanted to start putting out my music and putting out stuff. And then I started looking at the business model of the things that you have available to you, and I was going, holy crap, this sucks. This isn't viable. And so I've been in blockchain since around 2015, 2016. and I knew the narratives, right? We all follow the narratives of bank the unbanked. That was the first one, and then remove the middlemen. Right, that was the second narrative. And so I thought, oh well, okay, if that works for that industry, then heck, it definitely should be able to work for the music industry because there's a lot of middlemen that serve no purpose. And so around that time, I finally found people that are the other the upper people that helped me start Noom, which was originally Muse, and then I got a cease and desist in the mail from the band Muse, and I had to pivot, and we had to change the name. And I'm a music nerd, so I called it Noom, which is the earliest form of Western civilization music notation. And then the marketing team got a hold of it and changed the spelling of it, and here we are, NEWM, Noom. New music, new medium, all the fun things. So out of that, we've kind of coalesced after 3 years, and we have a couple of products live right now, because we know we're not at the end of the road of everything we want to do. But the biggest and the most difficult thing I think people don't understand necessarily is, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time, right? And where do you start? Well, you have to be really strategic. Otherwise, you're never going to finish your meal, and it's going to lead to you not having the ability to even go anywhere else with it. So we actually started, when we did this, we were going to go build a decentralized streaming platform, and that was going to be the first thing we did out the gate. Well, that's really expensive to do that, because you have to buy licensing, right, to be able to stream things. So how do you do that? And who do you need to have on board? All the stuff. So we rethunk everything. And long story short, fast forward, we want this ecosystem to be a place where musicians can come to start their career, thrive in their career, and then also retire in their career. So we want it to be a one-stop shop that fits a multitude of needs for them. And so that was our onus behind creating this, because I am my own person. I am my own, not product, my own target audience, at least from the musician standpoint. So long story short, I'll get to the point. We actually have a marketplace for music NFT collectibles. We call them collectibles because there is a scarcity component to it, and we can unpack that later. Then we also have our music distribution service, which to me is the amazing thing. And then we also have our mobile app. So there's a couple of things and how they all interplay, right? So our music marketplace, that's for our music collectibles. That is NFT purchases. Well, is there any good way to consume music NFTs on the blockchain right now? Not really. You have to go to your chain explorer to look at the file. You know all the rigmarole. Well, we thought, okay, and I call it the iPod for blockchain is what I do at this point. So this is our intermediary step between how do we go from no streaming, decentralized streaming, to full-fledged decentralized streaming. Well, let's start with the interim step and make it a really, really good user experience whenever you actually purchase music NFTs, right? So that's what we did. So when you buy music NFTs, when your wallet's synced, then your wallet's also synced on the mobile app. So as soon as you purchase it, it's made available inside your mobile app. If you sell it, it goes away from your mobile app. You no longer have it. So you get to load it up with whatever music NFTs you want. So that's the other thing. And then the big thing in my opinion, is the music distribution service. It's called the Studio, Noom Studio. And that's where artists can go and they can combine Web 2 and Web 3. Because we have a problem in Web 3. We have the degen traders call it liquidity, but the musicians, in my opinion, we call it exposure. The general masses are not in Web 3. The majority of the general masses are in Web 2. And we have to lead them to the promised land of Web 3, right? So we have to go out and get them. But for us, it combines Web 2 and Web 3 because you distribute your music to all of the Web 2 streaming platforms. We are literally using Web 2 streaming platforms for people to consume the music. But with the caveat of the money that goes into listening to music on the Web 2 platforms makes its way back to the blockchain in a tokenized fashion. And so it's directly connected to the stream tokens that are the streaming IP for each song that's distributed through Neum. So the music is tokenized and fractionalized and lives on chain, and people that own those get to claim the royalties, that income from people listening to that piece of music in Web 2. So your granny, who owns no Bitcoin, has never seen a wallet, does not understand what self-custody is, and thinks it's magic internet money. Some of her money could be going to your pocket via a tokenized fashion at this very moment in time. Dare I say, even Dragon Lady Senator Warren could be sending money to the blockchain for all we know right now, by listening to something on the big S Spotify, if she happened to do that. And then our last product, which is product number 4, I said we had a music we have a music NFT collectibles store, but we also have a music rights marketplace as well. Those are two separate marketplaces right now. One day we can potentially see some merging of the two, but we keep them separate right now because they're very different products, right? So there is the marketplace for the music rights. So directly from the studio, musicians can distribute and put up for sale their stream tokens that are the IP tokens. And so that's where we're at today. And those are all 4 products that are live currently right now. So we have mobile app, we have music marketplace as the record store, we have our music distribution service through the studio, and then we also have our music rights marketplace as well.
That's a lot, man.
We've been pumping. We put all these out during the bear market in 2024.
Yeah.
And so now we're gonna have a big marketing push this year.
And there was an Offspring reference in there, but you got to keep them separated.
Yeah. No, I got it.
My timing is completely off now, and plus like 3/4 of the viewers here are like, the who now? You know what's messed up is like they're like almost 60.
Huzzah.
Yeah, Noodles and Dexter Holland, they're like almost 60. Anyway, that just kind of makes me feel really old. But anyway, look, this it makes sense to me, and I mean you do have an amazing suite of products. And this is, I mean, there are projects out there that just hype the shit out of nothing burgers and and tokens and whatever. We got partnerships with everybody across the board. But do you have a working product? Well, we will in this and this and this. It's always like it's never a no, but it's never a yes. You actually have a working product. I like that. That is a big that puts you in the the really short column of actual non-bullshitty projects out there. Now, okay, so I know why we do Cardano. I know why I do Cardano for various reasons, which we're not going to get into because that's not really
if you want to, we can, because it's important for us.
Well, so what I wanted to actually get into is why did you get into Cardano? I mean, and just kind of let's get down to the brass tacks. Why not? I mean, you're talking about liquidity, right? You're talking about exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why not? Why not do it in Ethereum? I mean, for whatever it is a humongous ecosystem. And I said that before. It's a humongous ecosystem. I've been to a bunch of Ethereum conferences. I went to the one in Turkey last year. I mean, you cannot deny the size of this thing that is basically just gargantuanly, proportionally, exponentially bigger than anything else out there, including us and Cardano.
Mm-hmm.
So why Cardano? Why come here? Why take the risk?
Well, that's a great question, and both myself and Andrew Westberg went out to LA. I want to say a year and a half ago. It was the Horowitz funding meetup there, big tech meetup for the blockchain, and we were the only Cardano project amongst an entire room full of ETH Layer 2s. There was not anybody really building on ETH Layer 1. They were using the L2s. And we had lots of convos with people about this because they were
I
floored.
wonder why. I wonder
Right.
why.
Well, I think we did more goodwill ambassadorship for Cardano in that 3-day stretch than anybody on Twitter. Just in my own personal opinion, Andrew was dropping bombs. It was great. But for us, why did Noom choose Cardano? So I have a 1-year-old. The music industry has been around for a hot minute. ASCAP was formed in 1915, I do believe, as one of the PROs, one of the earliest ones. So we're over we're over 100 years now at this point for a lot of the industry. It needs to have staying power, and so in my opinion, you need to have high assurance code, right? So that's one thing for us. We wanted high assurance code. The other thing is you can't somebody doesn't need to get hacked. By human error, I mean, because we all know that with ETH, it's a smart contract is the token. The token is a smart contract, and if somebody tinkers with a smart contract, just by the nature of interacting with a token, you could have a wallet drain attack. There is an attack vector there, so we don't need grandma who happens to have something that's she's counting on, and she clicks a button on a token. She goes, "Oops, there it goes." So we like the fact of native assets with Cardano because a token is a token is a token. It can only be a token, at least the way we do things. And so that there's that. And then the other big thing from a business standpoint is you have to understand your cost basis. If you don't understand a cost basis, you're not going to have a viable business. Right, so we also know there's the gas fee model on Ethereum that can fluctuate and change. And as it currently stands, there is no gas fee model on Cardano. Maybe one day there might be some type of thing, but as it currently stands, it's not. So this when you compile your transaction, the cost basis before things are sent. Right, so we're able to run very efficiently. So we need to have predictable fees. So that's the other thing. So high assurance code, the native asset standard, and then the fee predictability. Those are the three big things for us as to why we chose Cardano. So there's my spiel. And honestly, it's worked really elegantly for us at this point, and we just build a nice user interface over the top of it. And with Andrew and Quinn, the Ancient Kraken, our two Plutus. Or smart contract devs. That's Andrew is more than that, but
Blue tie.
Yes. So they make magic happen very elegantly with their smart contracts. So we're really really happy about that. So, anyways, there's my answer, Dan.
I think it's a great answer, right? And I think that's why a lot of projects who build on Cardano, right? The predictability, and also the fact that it's a native token, right? And the token's not a smart contract. So I kind of want to take a different angle and ask you a question that if I was an artist, right, why would I pick Project Noom in the blockchain? Like you talked about rights and royalties and fractionalization. Can you maybe explain that a little bit for the artists who may be listening in? There might be like one.
Yeah, no. So, and you're not wrong. Arguably, we actually have about 4 or 5 different funnels or target groups that we have to target because we provide not just products and services. We don't provide just services to musicians. We also have the consumer-facing side of the equation. But so for an artist, there's a couple of things. One, let me go through just the rigmarole. Musicians are not business people, and musicians are not lawyers. Right, and there have been tons of musicians who they literally they can get together with a group of people, and they're like, "Hey, let's create some music. We're doing it. It's great." They put out product. Nobody cares. They're just making music. All of a sudden, money is now being made, and it's in the equation. And well, now people care. Right, and then oops, they put their cart before the horse, i.e. they created this wonderful thing before figuring out who owns how much of this thing, all the things before it goes out to the public. And that's a lot of the reason why a lot of bands break up. It's over that because they don't have their legal stuff set beforehand because it's not sexy. It costs money. It takes time, and it's not the creative half of the equation. It's the other side of the brain, right? So with us, when you distribute, you have to literally set the percentage ownership of each song before it goes out into the world to be listened to and consumed. Normally, that would potentially take lawyers and fees to create these contracts and whatnot. With us as a musician, when you finish distributing your music, one, you can't put it out there unless everybody has said, oh, yep, I own this percentage of it, I own this percentage, and I've signed off. Now it can go out into the world. We put that friction point there on purpose. So when we were discussing the process, we made sure that if you add a collaborator, that's what we call them, if you add a collaborator to your song, that you have to provide an email for them, right? And then it tells the percentage of that collaborator. Well, an email gets sent to that person. They have to then come on, create an account, and say, yep, that's correct, and actually give and verify that before it goes, yes, we're good. And the more people you add, the more people have to verify and say, yes, that is the correct amount. And so at that point, everything gets tokenized and sent to those wallets. So let's say me and 5 other buddies create a piece of music. Well, we distribute it through Noom. We had to answer the question, how much are we going to split it all equally, guys? Cool, great. Well, let's say 10 years down the road, all of a sudden it blows up. We don't have to even be together anymore, and we're good. I can do with what I want to with my portion of the ownership because we set it up front, right? And the system made us do that. It's one of those, it's like kind of do that. And here's the beauty. When it gets distributed on those stream tokens, they're attached to a generated and auto-generated, just by filling in the forms, like just the blanks, a contract that's on the blockchain. It's minted on the blockchain. It's a legal agreement. And you didn't have to go pay to go see a lawyer to go do that. In our legal team, we have 3 IP rights lawyers on our team that we work with. So they've had their hands in the cookie jar on all this stuff. So that's one of the beautiful things about, just from a legal standpoint and the social aspect for the musicians. I haven't even talked about the financial side of the equation. I don't want to bore people yet on that, but that's a big social reason why they would use this. One other big thing is most, and I'm going to talk about, I'll call them the big artists, make their money not from their music. They make it from tours and merchandise sales, which is sad. That's a very backwards equation, if you ask me. The music industry doesn't make their money off of the music. That seems a little odd, and that needs to change. So how does that need to change? Well, you start giving your fans something of much more value than just a t-shirt from a concert. Instead of just regular merchandise, what if you give them something that makes them also have skin in the game? They have a financial incentive for you or that single to be successful. Well, now they're more than just a fan. That's more than a fan. If I have partial ownership in something and its success, I see some direct correlation with the success of this thing, I'm not just a fan of that. I'm now going to be marketing the heck out of it, going, have you heard this? I love it. I put my skin in the game.
I mean, this is the same concept with crypto right now. I kind of actually get, like, sometimes, I like, one side of me says, like, what the fuck are they talking about? Why are they shilling this? And the other side's like, why? Because they're holding the token. I mean, it's the same concept here, right? So, you have skin in the game. You're going to be, I mean, there's some projects out there that I'm just like, why are people so, like, adamant about, you go on X and you see all the different crypto stuff out there.
Did you say Sui? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm not going to use 3-letter words on this podcast. Okay?
You have such a bright soul.
We're too cultured for that.
Yes.
Cultured on the mainstream. You got to do a shot because I just said mainstream.
You do.
You said it twice.
Mainstream.
There's going to be many drunkards that are made from us doing this podcast, but it's the same concept here. And actually, we're talking about IP, and so it's a huge thing in the entertainment industry, not just in the music industry, but in the entertainment industry. I mean, for a very short and brief time, I was in the film industry, and it's kind of the same thing. And you know what? Like music, actually, I did produce a little music as well because I had my own studio for just like a smidge in time, and that's like even worse than film and video editing. Like that like I would never wish that on my worst enemies, because I've been in it. I've produced some of these things, and I'm just like, holy crap, man. You put in all this work to make like an hour, 2 hour long movie or film or whatever, a documentary, 15, 30 minutes. You're putting in all this work to make a 4-minute piece of art. 4 minutes. That's it. 4 minutes. And it's literally like almost as much work sometimes. And I mean, sometimes you get lucky and they just get like 1-2 takes, bam, and it's done. But production is crazy. Like I said, I've done production before. I've done like, sound design and all this stuff. I know what the stuff takes, recording tracks over tracks over tracks, all the different mixes you got to do, all the, the leveling, all the shit. It's crazy. People really don't realize mastering, sampling, like all this stuff. They don't realize what goes into making a sound and a specific sound. And this is why it's so important to really kind of have the IP rights to this. And really, like I said, well, for example, some of the most famous some of those famous iconic, filmmakers and art makers out there in the cinema world did not own the rights to their characters that they're like iconically known for. Like, for example, Sylvester Stallone did not own the rights to Rocky.
I know, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's some people don't know this, but he did not own the rights to Rocky, and this is why there's several different things that happened to the character that he was just not okay with, but he just could not do anything about it because he did not own the rights, and he talks about it quite a bit if you listen to some of the stuff that he talks about. And so, and this happens all the time in this industry, in the creative industry. You have people that have the connections and the capital to kind of put you through that. And there's so many parallels to the crypto industry, right? Because you got the VCs out there, and you got all these, you got the soothsayers out there with a couple of bucks. They'll dangle it over you. They'll dangle you with some exchange listings and whatever, and then they're gonna want like 15% of your total supply, and then they're gonna dump.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with the creative industry. They take these people that are struggling for years. I mean, again, going back to Sylvester Stallone, the guy had to sell his dog. He literally sold his dog, Butkus, the dog that he used in the first Rocky movie. He sold that dog like years before to a guy next to a convenience store for like $50 because he was just so broke. And this is like the epitome of what these people have to go through. So yeah, you have, and then of course he bought him back later on, when he got the money for like thousands of dollars from the guy. But you have artists going through the same stuff, and so you have these, a lot of these predatory producers dangling the stuff at them. They'll show them a little bit of money. They'll say like, I can get this stuff made for you, and they do, but then they just suck the life out of it. And this is why it's so important to have platforms like yours, because you can mitigate the life suckers. The people that make this business, and I wasn't even like in the high ranks of the creative business in LA, and I never want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's such a fucking toilet, and many people that have been in it can tell you the same thing. And the same thing about the music business, the legacy corporate music business. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like from the inside, a lot of times it's freaking disgusting, man. It literally kills every single creative like iota in your body actually dealing with it. Did he just drop another
token shitcoin?
I possibly did. I did have. Listen. Look, you never know with these people. I was one time I was talking about like adopting a donkey in Corfu, and somebody made a meme coin out of it, and the thing had like $20,000 of liquidity within like 10 minutes. but that's
I totally
crypto.
derailed you. I'm sorry. I just couldn't help myself.
No. I totally derailed you because I went right into like my Rocky spiel when you're talking about music.
But well, okay, but you hit the nail on the head though, Dan. Because so there's about 3 words that come to mind, right? There's extreme value extraction, right? From the industry, or put a multiple S, industries. There's tons of value extraction from artists. Artists are literally, they look at them like a crop. It's like, all right, how much can we squeeze off of this one? On to the next one, right? That's what it is. And then you mentioned LA. So there's a wonderful blockchain word, transaction. Well, LA is extremely transactional. It's all about, what can you do for me and what can I do for you? And, that's just what it is.
Well, it's more like what can you do for me and how little can I do for you in exchange?
I was being generous, but yes, you were not
generous.
wrong.
We know all about that. This is why, like I said, this is why it's so important to have projects like Newham out there, because this shit is disgusting.
Yeah,
because my family, so like half of my family is the IT side. My father's, the scientist, the the guy who spent 50 years in IT, got his PhD in AI and all this crazy shit, like 40 years before all the or was it in the 80s? So it is 40. God, I'm old. It was like 40 years. It can't be 40. It's like, no, it is 40 years because it was like
it's 40 years.
Yeah, it was like 1985 that he got his PhD in AI, like before it was a thing with ChatGPT. But on my mom's side, everybody's creative. My grandfather was an actor, professional actor, puppeteer, and a theatrical actor. My mother is actually a professional musician, a theatrical historian. So, I have this creative thing, and like half of my brain is creative. And so you go there, you want to exercise your creativity. You go to places like LA thinking this is the place to be, and then it just suffocates it. It just murders it, and you go and you leave like you've been raped. It literally feels like you have been molested by this industry that destroys all of this creativity. And this is why, like I said, this is why what you do is important.
I appreciate that. Well, and that was the other word, predatory, was going to come to mind, because I mean, and this is the other thing, people didn't realize this. So like you're talking about IP. And if you did film, then you're familiar with other things like sync rights, right? And so what people don't realize, and this is the problem with RWAs and NFTs and the marriage of the two under the premise of visual art only, because what NFTs in the blockchain space to date, all people really know about them as far as ownership and digital ownership, they only equate it to visual art right now. They haven't put 2 and 2 together for music. And when people talk about IP for visual art, it's typically one license. It's one thing, right? Well, in music, it's not just one thing. It's like 6 or 7 different things. And it's all contingent upon the medium through which you consume the music. And that's the craziness of all this. So like you have masters, you have mechanicals, you have syncs, you have neighbors, you have terrestrial, you have streaming. Like I'm just spouting off some of these things, but it's and like if you listen to something on Pandora, that's different than if you listen to something on Spotify, because one, you can actually go and search for it, but Pandora, you can't go search for a specific song. It's a radio, right? You're not in charge of the listening order. There's a lot of different types of ways that music makes money, and that's the other nefarious thing on a lot of these contracts that musicians get wrapped up in. Is you'll see people called 360 deals, to where basically it wraps you up in a perpetual contract that you'll never be able to pay back. And so now you have artists people know, well-named artists that are broke as a joke, and it's not because their art didn't create value, it's that they just never saw any of it.
Ozzy Osbourne was there. Like Ozzy Osbourne was that in the 80s. Like he literally was one of the biggest metal stars in the 80s, and the guy was barely making like $50,000 a year or something like that, because he was wrapped up in this perpetual crazy shit contract that is actually his wife's father was in charge of. Like his as far as I remember, it was basically her father was the one that owned the contract on him on his music, and Sharon, right?
Yeah, I think Sharon.
Sharon Osbourne. Yeah, she was like, she actually helped him get out of it. But that was the thing. And actually, if you listen to, or if you read any of the any of his like biographies or autobiographies about doing that, like, yeah, he was literally locked into it when he was playing with Randy Rhoads and that whole era. He was locked into this contract. Yeah, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's the dark side of the creative process, and so many musicians just want to make music. Like that's the big thing. They just like, oh great, I got a check in the mail, cool, right? And if they can ever make it to that point to be like, okay, I'm good, I'm living, I can do what I want to do, okay, to the studio I go. There's a lot of people that fall into that category, and so I'm not saying there's not a need necessarily for a label or for a manager or for PR and stuff like that, because we talk about the bad side of things, and there are terrible bad sides, but there's also purposes, because again, it's a business, right? For me, and where we are with Noom, it's we don't want to pick winners and losers like the industry does. We just want to give everybody the same tools to play with, right? And everybody gets the same bucket and pail in the sandbox to build with
that.
whatever.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Just bring them the opportunity. That's what we call opportunity inclusion. We don't level playing fields. We just bring the same opportunity to all the people that want to partake in our ecosystem, and then let them decide what to do with it.
Well, that's the thing, right? And it's because, and look, you only have two options to you as a musician. Now, I was a teacher for half a decade. And you have composers and stuff like that, but I'm talking recording artists, right? I'm talking about the people that are in the front, that you hear their voice and you see them on the front of the stage. You can either stay an indie artist, right? And that's fine. The current options available are independent artists, and you probably know that you're not going to make much money, but you're going to remain true to your art. It's going to be the way you want it, and you're going to have a very niche fan base who follows you and is loyal until the day you die, probably. But then also you have commercial musician, and that is, you at that point you know that your music and your art is no longer the product. You, the person, are the product. And that means you're going to have to sacrifice on certain aspects of the creativity to meet a predefined mold of what the label says that they need you to be.
Yeah, session musicians, basically.
Yeah, right. Well, and session musicians are kind of one thing, but at least in my opinion, like, so when I call a session musician, that's somebody we contract, W-9 worker, to come in and fill in on the back. But like, I'm talking about the talent, the artist talent that have been hired by the label, right? And so for me, they understand, hey, my music, it's fine, but that's not the main priority for the label. It's me, the persona that I am. That is the product, right? And so, and both of those options are viable. The people who choose that route, I mean, look, all power to them, and they find a way to get fulfillment and something and more things that matter more to them. All I'm saying is we want people to have the option available, and that if they choose the independent route, they have the means by which to make. You don't have to make it rich, but at least make a comparable wage and a living to where they don't have to go work 3 jobs to just come home and do the thing that they love. Right. And so, but here's the beauty. These tools, the labels in the industry can use them too, because it's a brand new value prop. And so there are people that are, and it's funny, our products, it is labels and management companies that see the value in what we have before a lot of the independent artists, because they're thinking business-wise, and they're looking at this going, holy crap, there's a whole nother type of revenue and type of asset that we now have at our exposure to be able to monetize. And so that's the irony of this entire situation, is that, it's the more independent artists or people that are, they maybe have management teams but aren't they're not locked into contracts, right? That they can benefit tremendously from this, because let's say, as a prime example, back to your original question, why musician use this? Well, what if you create an EP, and a lot of musicians, they would try to pitch that to a label and go, please sign me, give me an upfront cash advance, and then I'll make that, you can have your recoupable label, and then once you've recouped all your investment, then I can start seeing some profits, right? Well, what if instead of doing that, they go, we've created this EP, hey, dear fans, we want to give you the opportunity to own part of this and come along with us on the journey. Well, now you've given up not all, you've given up some, and you maybe have only given up your streaming rights, not your masters, or not mechanicals, right? Or you've chosen what, a la carte, how much of each one you want to give up, if any. Now you are crowdfunded by your fan base, who are now financially incentivized for you to be successful. You have not been locked into some random weird contract, right, that you can't get out of. And at that point, now you are... that's the best type of marketing you can purchase, right? You've just single-handedly funded your next project, right, by getting upfront cash without giving up what you don't want to give up, right? And you now have an army of marketers that are your fans, that are like like Swifty 2.0, but with real value behind it, right? So that, to me, that's something that has not been able to have been created at this point in time in the world of music, that can be now. That's organic, right? And so for me, that's something that's what's the value on that? Well, who knows? I think it's massive. But I think that humans are slow to figure things out, but I think as things happen, you have to gamify it. You have to put a nice interface on the top of it. It has to make sense to somebody who's not techie or not financially savvy. You need to have that token. There's the gamification aspect, and how does it look, and all those things. And so that's part of the equation too. Think of a world where if I'm a musician, I can go, hey, you guys showed up to my live concert, which, side note, you can't really go tour unless you're grossing or netting at least $1 million, because it doesn't financially make sense for the cost of touring, just FYI. But let's say you get to that point and you have that. You throw a QR code up on the screen. There can be a 1 of 100. If they scan it, they can go to the record store. You only have 100 NFTs that will ever be. It could be like a studio release, something that's never been produced or released on streaming platforms. It's like an acoustic version that's only going to be, it's that take, only 100 copies. If people scan that QR code, first 100 get it, great. 6 months later, fast forward, hey, if you're a holder of the NFT, you get early token gated access to the stream token sale for this next single that's dropping. Cool. You want to own the master to something? Well, you need to show you have X percentage of stream tokens for this single. That single, you need to show you have to have a certain amount of sync tokens from this to unlock access to purchase different types of IP tokens, right? There's an entire gamification that can play around with this, and so we're building Legos. There's going to be people that build the Taj Mahal out of our Lego blocks of user experience. And that, to me, is what is the most exciting thing about what we've built to date.
What excited me, I just wanted to, you said Swifty 2.0. She plays football for the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yes, she does.
That's what I thought. Yes. Don't cancel me, Swifties. Don't cancel me.
They're going to come for you.
Yes, sorry. Some guys are on their way. Some guys. So Ryan, I mean, all this sounds great. Now let's ask the hard question. I mean, how do we make it mainstream?
Yes, exactly. Right, the mainstream.
Yeah. How do you bring the users? How do we bring like the masses on there? How do we get these guys? And this is like a cultural thing too, right? Because it works differently in different countries. I mean, like, for example, in Japan, they're still very much into album art and owning CDs. Like, CDs are a thing still out here, And there's like sections of the city, even here in Osaka, that are just dedicated to like CDs. They're big. They're like CD World down in Nipponbashi. Where I saw, I'm like, what the hell is this? 1996 with CD World. and it's huge, you know. And there's a lot of these
I'm
places.
just glad you didn't mention the record store.
Well, there's record stores out here too, you know, and I mean, look, behind me, actually, you can't really see it that well.
Come on,
but
vinyl.
That's a direct drive record player right there, and
I still have all my vinyl.
I have a 1956 Magnavox in my house, so I'm with you.
Nice.
Oh well, so like over here, that's a 4-channel Victor, and up there you can't really see it. Now that's from the '60s. I got a portable record player from the '60s, a belt drive. But anyway, I mean that's just me. Like I'm an audio like hi-fi. Dude.
Exactly. I live in 192, my friend. I'm with you.
Well, I got my
or 96 too. Depends.
Like, you know, I got my 606 and 666 back there, you know, the Sunsuis and everything. The black ones, those are Sunsuis. Anyway, look, that's a cultural thing, right? In Japan, it's a thing. In the U.S., it's not a thing, right? But how do we bridge all of this? How do we get all these people to kind of come and really understand that what you have here is kind of the best of both worlds, right? So you do have this kind of like instant gratification on demand thing where it's all electronic digitized and it's like it's ready for you and you can carry it, you know, you don't have to carry like a thing of CDs. And then it's also the same as having a thing of CDs.
Yeah.
You know, how do you bridge all of that? How do you get the users to understand it and to bring them onto the platform?
Well, and that's where we're at. To be honest with you, that is the point of we have built it. That whole adage of build it and they'll come. We all know that's not true. If people don't have signs to the cornfield, they're not going to make their way to the Magic baseball field, right? So, so part of it, one of the benefits of we started targeting artists first, independent artists first. Why did we do that? Well, I'm an independent artist personally myself, so I have a sweet spot in my heart for that, and that's one of the things and one of the biggest groups that need this product. But the other reason is because they're a multiplier for us. So every independent artist brings their own fan base with them, right? And so we know this about independent artists. You can look at the hip hop scene. They're the biggest test case for this. Their fan base, they created music for their specific communities, right? So their fan base was an inch wide but a mile deep, right? And so they're able to be extremely successful. You know, they have records and they have Grammys to their name based off of that inch wide, mile deep connection with that community of fans. We are enabling the more musicians that come on, independent ones. That's a multiplier effect. They bring their listeners with them, right? So the other thing is we're also in talks. People think the labels are the power brokers. Kinda. There's also the management companies. That's the other side of the equation people don't talk about. There are management firms that manage these artists and tell them where to go or suggest, et cetera, that come with teams of marketing. And so we're also in talks with a lot of management companies of artists, of A-tier artists, and so that's so there's the independent side we're tackling, and then there are the management company side of the equation we're tackling. So that's where we're at right now with those. As far as the listeners and the consumer side goes, you're going to see a push from us in the marketing this year to target more of that. But right now, our biggest focus has been on onboarding artists, onboarding musicians to the industry, because we firmly believe that they're the multiplier effect that's going to bring the fan base with them. Think about this, a user journey or a fan journey for an artist that's on new. You know, you distribute, you put out a pre-save link and go, hey, dear fan, click pre-save. People know how to pre-save. They've been doing that. That's a thing. All right, clicked on the pre-save. Takes you to a hyperlink, says, hey, thanks for pre-saving. Did you know, i.e., there's two things. One, hey, you want to be more than just a listener. You have an opportunity. Sends them to a link to purchase stream tokens. Takes them down the chat. Takes them down the rabbit hole. Or two, people get offended. They're not offended. They're flabbergasted. Fans are flabbergasted when they go, wait, you only get paid 0.003 cents every time I listen to this? What the heck? Well, think of a world where musicians go, hey, if you want to really support me, come support me over here because I get paid more. And also, we already talked about the whole financial thing for that. The artists do that for us, every artist that goes through Noom is they do that because they want them over on this ecosystem because it's more bang for your buck, right? For all parties involved. And so that's what we're seeing from our side as far as onboarding artists and how we're pulling people from the other Web 2 options. So yes, Daniel, that's where we're focused at, but we are well aware it's an attention economy. There's lots of things out there. There's lots of music NFTs to pull people's in ordinals and all the things of why you should go somewhere else to do things. And we know that. So that's why in 2025 we're really focusing. We're doing a big marketing push to get the word out, not just in the Web3 community, but also in the Web2 community, as far as what products we have available as a consumer as well, how you can be a part of the ecosystem and not just as a musician.
So we're kind of coming towards the end of our time here, Ryan, but this has been an amazing conversation. I just want to ask you, and then I want to do a rapid fire with you real fast. It's going to be a little bit of fun.
Okay.
But first off, where can people go, like if they're interested in learning more about Project Noom, where can they go to find that information? Yeah,
so Noom.io, that's our big website. You can also, if you're a musician, you can also go to Noom.studio. That is for distribution service, DSP service. You don't have to talk to us. It's automated. It's open for everybody to use. You also have the record store, Noom.record store. That's for the music NFT collectible. And then you have the new marketplace. You can find links on Noom.io. And also, please follow our official Twitter account. That's at Project Noom on Twitter. Those are our big ways of communication. We have a Telegram group. We also have a Discord. Musicians are in there chatting occasionally. But that is where you can find us. And then you could also, if you want to, you can follow me on Twitter as well, RyanJones_Noom. So that is where you can find us right now.
All right, so we're going to have a little bit of fun. I got a couple questions here that I just want to ask you, and if you can just give me real quick answers.
Okay.
Alrighty, so a little rapid fire. What's the first album that you ever bought?
Oh, crap. Actually, I think it was a Decca classic of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, believe it or not.
Nice. If you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, man. It's between Jacob Collier and Billy Joel.
Wow, interesting. If you could instantly master one instrument and you don't already play it, what instrument would it be?
Cello.
Cello. That was quick. He knew. Vinyl, streaming, or live performance. What's your favorite way to experience?
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. I like live, but that's just me. Second best would be vinyl.
I'm going to go with live for myself and then vinyl. But
yes.
What's one song that always gets you motivated? When I go to the gym, I have a playlist. What's your number one song on your playlist?
Oh, Anthem for the Underdog.
Anthem for the Underdog. Interesting. So that's our little rapid fire. I want to say thanks to you for coming in. It was very interesting and so much going on in Project Noom, and it was really interesting to learn about the mobile app, right, and the way that you distribute the different licensing. I've been learning a lot about licensings and music, and the stories of like Michael Jackson, some of those artists who kind of really, Prince, another one, who kind of knew the business, but they were amazing artists also, right? So thanks for coming on and chatting. I really appreciate it. As always, we've been friends for a while. I love what you're doing. Continue to keep building. But Dan, if you want to kind of close it up with us?
Yeah, you were saying the song that you kind of fire up the whole workout with.
Yeah.
So actually, mine as of lately have been this like late '80s remix of Popcorn.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm pretty sure that this is a fact, but it's. Popcorn is actually the very first electronica melody ever produced, right? Like by Hot Butter back in I think like in the '60s, late '60s.
I think '69 maybe the first version. Yeah. But I think it hit in like early '70s though.
It was in early '70s, but it was produced in '69, and that was the very first synthesizer electronica. And then recording that like purely electronica, Yeah, and so I've been listening to that one. So it's kind of a little bit of weird trivia.
I approve.
Interesting.
I knew there's a reason I liked you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm I'm an electronica guy. I got like all these album covers over there. Wait, you can't see them. They're over there. Of I don't know if you're familiar with this French band called Space
No.
from the '80s. That was like a big electronica pioneer, and another one called Zodiac from Lithuania or from Estonia. I'm sorry, from back in the back in the '80s. It was like a Soviet electronica band. Yeah.
Okay, what are they called?
Zodiac.
Okay. Let's say I know a whole bunch of Estonian.
Yeah. So I am a fan of this sort of obscure '80s synth music.
Love it. I love it.
So anyway, listen, Ryan, it was a pleasure to have you on. Love what you're doing. I think it's super important. I think that I love it that you were just like us. You were in the RWA field before it was the buzzy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll continue being in it after it's after everybody moves on to whatever other
narrative paths away.
There's going to be, because this has substance. This makes sense. You're bringing technology that makes sense to a field that needs it. And I mean, that's essentially that's your classic finding a solution for a problem, not building a solution to look for a problem to solve.
Yes.
So it's great to have this. It's great to have you on. Hopefully we can have you back on soon. We can talk a little bit more about music things and whatnot.
Listen, I'm all about it.
Any last words? I'm making it sound like I'm making you walk the plank or something. But
any last words? Yeah.
Last words, matey.
Matey. No. First of all, thank you guys for having me on, and thank you guys for the work you're doing. Because I know, Dan, you boots on the ground, doing the nitty gritty with big convos with important people to spread the word. I do want to point out one thing, and this is just in the RWA space for people who are familiar with it. There is one distinct difference from us that I actually find it to be a very big advantage. When you deal with RWAs in the conventional sense of actual, real, physical assets that have to be maintained and custodied in the real world, ours is digital. It's a digital, real-world asset. It's IP. It's ephemeral. We've actually given it form in the tokenized fashion, as opposed to it being an ephemeral contract, right? So it's very easy to custody it in perpetuity because it doesn't have to live in a physical location, yet it's still a real-world asset. To me, I think that's a really cool thing just from an RWA standpoint that really separates our product as an RWA from the traditional RWAs that live in the real physical world, because that adds a component of complexity to the entire equation. So just a little, just in my head, thought about that. And maybe we can unpack more next time we talk.
Absolutely. Well, listen, once again, Ryan, great having you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking all these cool, music things.
Yes.
That's the professional, eloquent way of saying it. These music things.
Thingy things.
The thingy things. Yes.
Thingy things. Right. And so that about does it for the very first mainstream.
There we go.
No, Brian, the other way.
Oh no!
This way.
We've digressed.
Yeah, the first mainstream of the year. It was a good one. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody for watching. And so next week, same time, same place. Well, not same time. Was it going to be the same time, Brian?
No, probably not. We were a half hour earlier than the normal time slot is.
So the same time neighborhood.
Same area.
Ish.
Area.
Yeah.
Definitely same place. Definitely the same channel. And,
definitely talking blockchain and adoption.
Yeah, and until then, this is Dan coming to you barely alive from Japan. Signing off.